Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of HorrorHands, and for this video I'm going to be talking about Ghost Story. This is an interesting movie. It's one that I've watched quite a few times, but I watched it again the other day, so thought I'd do a quick review about it. So I was trying in my head to sort of say what the film's about, but it's a rather difficult one to explain. It has a bit of a convoluted story, but essentially it's these four old men, played by Fred Astaire, John Houseman, Melvyn Douglas and Douglas Fairbanks Jr., so really great veteran cast. These four old men, and they are haunted by the ghost of a woman from their past. And the film kind of spans over about 3 different generations, and there's quite a lot to it, but essentially that's what the film's about. So I say this is a really interesting one because this is it has a very unusual feel for the types of films that were being made at this time. So this film came out in 1981, I believe, and this was sort of the heyday of the American slasher film. So we had things like Halloween, we were having things like Friday the 13th, The Burning, Graduation Day, and all these kind of films that were centered around sort of young people and partying, and they had a very kind of summer feel about them. Whereas Ghost Story is a very gloomy, moody film. It's very dark, everything from its locations to the look of the film, even to the weather outside. It's a very dark and gloomy film. So it would have been interesting to have seen the kind of reception that this had back in the day when it was released. But a lot of the scenes that take place in sort of like darkened studies with no disrespect, but with a very old cast. And also as well, the location and the weather, it's set in a town which is sort of in the midst of a bleak winter. So there's ice and snow and sort of gloomy skies throughout the film. So it really does set this very downbeat, bleak tone, which was very unusual for the type of film of this day and age. But I really liked it. It kind of it works well when it doesn't work so well for me, because it works well because it sets a fantastic mood for the film, but also it is sometimes it is a little bit too gloomy, and it's a bit sort of tough to get through some of the scenes because it just has this such a bleak feel. But as I say, it does help with the kind of film that it is. In terms of whether it's like a good film or not, I see quite a few reviews of this film, and they either say things like that it's absolutely brilliant and it's one of the best made ghost stories ever, to reviews that just say it's terrible and it's dull and it's really boring. And I can kind of see, I can agree with aspects of both of those type of reviews. I think for me, if you take bits of each of that type of opinion and kind of mix it around a bit, that is kind of my opinion of Ghost Story. It's kind of it is a good film. It does get a bit dull, and it doesn't flow too great in places, but there is something about this film that's very likeable, and it does have a rather unique feel to it. It feels like it's a film from the 1930s, and it does have a cast who are very prominent around that time, and it does have this kind of vintage feel to it. So it's an unusual one in that kind of sense, but I'd certainly recommend it if you like sort of your old-fashioned ghost story type films. Certainly recommend this movie, because yeah, I thought it was a good one. It's also interesting because it has a few scenes of ghostly figures, and they have like quite cool 80s looking makeup and effects, but again it exists in this kind of 1930s gloomy world, so those effects kind of, they look cool, and it's interesting to see them against this kind of vintage type movie, if that makes sense. So that's what I thought of Ghost Story. Thought it was a pretty good movie. Let me know if you've seen it and what you think of this one. It'd be interesting because I think this is one that kind of divides a lot of people. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.